brother DP Earl Spencer, as well as Ed Thomas. So at this time, I'm going to ask all persons on the platform to join me as we observe a moment's silence. May their souls rest in peace, and may light perpetual shine on them. All right, in other Kiwanis news, Kiwanis Club of Kingston, on Sunday, which was celebrated and observed as Mother's Day, and so to all the mothers on this evening, I wish for you belatedly a happy Mother's Day. I hope that your day was well spent, that you were pampered, and that you got a restful day and a day that you enjoyed. While you were enjoying your pampering, the Kiwanis Club of Kingston, along with UTEX CKI, went to visit our friends at the Salvation Army home on Mannings Hill Drive, where we went and had a senior games day with them, where we went and we played and just ensure that they enjoyed their Mother's Day and that they remembered that they are cared for and cherished. It was a beautiful experience. It was very good interacting with the seniors, and it is something that we will be doing more of, and we intend to continue that project. Labor Day is coming up. I know that you all are excited about your Labor Day projects. The Kiwanis Club of Kingston were also excited as we are seeking to see how it is that we can lend some assistance to the Chevron Basic School in Standpipe. And whenever it comes around to Labor Day, and I mean, some of us on the call might be too young to remember the song, uh, that, we must come together and work this Labor Day. Sure know how good it feels when you help your community. So I'm encouraging us all to not just use it for another day at time off from work to rest, but use it to see how you can help to better your community by giving of yourself in service on Labor Day. Later in the meeting, I'm sure DLG Willie will be telling you about our Barbie Fry, which is coming up on the 29th of May. We are looking forward to all your support. Tickets are on sale. You can contact me or any other member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston to know how it is that you can get involved. For those persons as well who you have coins lying around the place and you're not sure what to do with them, we do have our coin drive, so you can also make donation of those coins to us. The coins can be dropped off at the Mall Plaza, the office, which is beside Express Fitness Gym. There you can bring your coins, drop them off there. All proceeds from the coin drive will be going to the Salvation Army. We look forward to your support. Thank you for being here this evening as we get up close and personal with one of our newest inductees, Kiwanian Sean Campbell, and we will also be talking about IShowSpeed. For many of us on the platform, this weekend was the first we were being introduced to him. So I'm looking forward to hearing whether or not this was a plus for Jamaica. And I guess if it wasn't a plus, it would be a minus. However, the duty to officially welcome you to this evening's meeting, it is not mine, but it belongs to our VP, Dr. Andrew Burton. And so I'm going to invite him at this time to do the official welcome and roll call of clubs.
Hello, hello. Evening, everyone. I echo our president's sentiments to welcome you all and thank you for being here, for joining us at the meeting. For the so I open the floor for persons to indicate who is here when your division is called, or your respective groups, and to introduce your delegations. Let us know how many of you are joining us. Um, do we have any members from clubs outside of Jamaica with us this evening? Any Kiwanians who are a part of clubs from outside of Jamaica? I don't think so. So far, we're 23 strong. I'm sure others will join as we progress. Um, as we move into the Jamaican cohort, I see a few distinguished. Is that? Oh, are you saying something, President? No. Okay. As we move into the Jamaican cohort, I see quite a few DLGs in the call. Our own DLG Desmond, DLG Willie. Glad to have you here as always. DLG Keith, I see you on the call. Great to have
Thank
you
you,
at
sir.
our meeting. Um, do we have any Kiwanians from Division 25 who are joining us? None from Division 25. Any from Division 24? Not yet. Division 23 East? None. Any from Division 23 West? Okay, none yet. Um, any Kiwanians from 23 Central?
Mute for one second. Hi, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Hey, how are you doing?
Great, thanks. Good
Great.
to hear you.
DP, you ready to say from 23 Central, sorry, online. This time I'm looking at DLG Desmond and DLG Keith, who are both dual members of other clubs, but I'm going to borrow them for tonight. And so we have an interclub. But I'm looking forward to this up close and personal. So thank you so much and have a good meeting.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Bye-bye.
joining us as usual.
Bye-bye.
Any other members from clubs in 23 Central? Okay. None none highlighted. I see some clubs in the chat. I see delegation from Kiwani Stony Hill. Welcome. Both DLG Keith and DP Althea. Good to have you here. Um, from 23 East Professional St. Andrew Online. I see you. Welcome to our meeting. Want to highlight some of our own club's members who we haven't seen in a while. Past Treasurer Warwick Bogle, good to see you on the call, sir. Our prospect, Stephen, great to have you. And of course, Kiwanian Sean, who will be sharing more with us shortly. And in our up close and personal segment.
VP and
Yes,
DP Andrew,
DP.
just one correction. Past Treasurer Warwick
Yes.
is also a distinguished president.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you, DP Stewart.
Distinguished Lieutenant Governor.
Oh, DLG Ward. Excellent.
Thanks for the further correction.
Yes. Thank you so much. DLG Warwick Bogle. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you for the welcome, sir.
And I see we have at least one SLP member here. From UTech CKI, Secretary Malika. Good to have you on the call. Okay, I see you with the greeting in the chat. Great to have you with us. Any other SLPs here? Any other SLP members or guests of Kiwanians? Please unmute and introduce yourself. Or if you're a Kiwanian who has invited somebody to the meeting, if there are any guests of Sean, please do give a quick shout out, a quick introduction.
I have a guest.
Okay.
Janet McPherson. I see her
Yes.
on the call. Welcome, Janet. Good to see you.
Welcome, Janet. Good to have you on the call with us. And thank you, DP Stewart, for extending your K to her this evening. All right, there being no
good
other...
night, everyone. Not sure if I missed it, but I'm Kiwani and Janelle from Kiwani's Club of Global Alliances. I'm seeing just myself so far, but we should be having some other delegates joining in. So looking forward to the conversation tonight.
Great. Thank you. Okay, I'm told we have a guest of President Zuri, Marvel, a name I'm familiar with as well. Welcome, Marvel, to the chat, to our meeting this evening. Thanks for joining us. And big up President Zuri for extending your K. There being no other guests, I hand back over to President to continue the proceeding.
Good evening, good evening, everyone. My name is Kimon. I'm past Secretary Kimon from Kiwanis Club of Saint 23E St. Andrew Online. And I am here with another club member, Director Kevin Murray. I'm happy to join your meeting, and I trust that it's a very good one. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Welcome, and it's our pleasure to have you join us. And I see that Mrs. Campbell is also with us, wife of our presenter this evening. We welcome you, Mrs. Campbell. It's good to have you join us, and we see that you are joining while traveling. So we wish you all the best in your travels. Have a safe flight. And I'm sure you have coached Mr. Campbell very well. So we look forward to an exciting presentation from him. Okay, President Eurydice is also saying that her guest is on, Mr. Barry Ellis. We welcome you as well, Mr. Ellis, to our meeting. We do hope that you will enjoy the presentation this evening. I have not received any apologies for absence. Dale G. Willie, did you receive any? All right, seeing Dale G might not be hearing us. Did any other member of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston? Was an apology sent through any of you?
Sorry, Prez, I didn't receive any apologies. I was muted. Sorry.
Thank you, Dale G. All right, so there being no apologies for absence, we move to recognition of birthdays and anniversaries. With PER Senior or VP Uncle Andrew?
Good evening, everyone. We just like to take a moment to recognize those persons with us who will be celebrating a special day this week. We do actually have quite a bit of birthdays, so I'll go through them. On the 13th, we have Kiwanian Cleveland Williams. Then on the 15th, we have Kiwanian Brian Richardson. On the 16th, DP Norman Hewitt. Or is that Heliot? On the 17th, we have two birthdays. Patricia, the wife of DLG Warwick Bogle, and then Carol, wife of DLGE Trevor Christian. Then on the 18th, we have Kiwanian Michael Archer. So happy birthday to you all when it comes. And if there's anyone else on the call with a special day this week, feel free to open your mics and share with us. Okay, if there be none, happy birthday to all our celebrants again when it comes. And I'll now hand back over to you, President Zuri.
Thank you, PE, our senior. So Kiwani's education this week will have a new voice, as this week we have challenged our prospect to step up and deliver Kiwani's education for us this evening. So prospect Stephen Levy will be doing Kiwani's education. The Kiwani's Amplify program started on Monday of this week, so that will form part of our Kiwani's education this evening. Over to you, Prospect Stephen.
All right, good evening, fellow Kiwanians. So this evening, actually very happy to be on this evening with everyone. For Kiwani's education, we will be exploring the Kiwani's Amplify program. So I'll just go through very briefly what it is, what some of the participants will be exploring, a few other topics that they will deep dive, and how it is that interested persons will be able to register. So, learning and living leadership out loud is the overarching theme. And it says, build your leadership skills, improve your career, your community, and your Kiwanis Club. So Kiwanis Amplify is a program for emerging leaders who want to amplify their ability to lead a team. Participation is encouraged, but not limited to young leaders, new members, and members of Circle K International who have completed the Global Leadership Certificates. So I'm just going to be touching on a few things that participants can expect in this program. So they'll be able to explore the value of servant leadership. They'll be able to discover their personal strengths so that they can lead confidently and successfully. They'll be able to strengthen their ability to lead others in a strategic manner. They'll be able to build and manage a strategic plan that works. Learn from experts as well as from their peers from across the globe, as well as earn a certificate of completion. Now, a few of the topics. There are actually 8 topics that participants will be deep diving into. I'll just highlight 3. The qualities of a good leader, methods of communication, and promoting diversity, equality, and inclusion throughout a team. Participation fee is US $50, and the fee can actually be covered by the individual or their club, or they can be sponsored to their division, district, or even their place of business. If persons are interested to enroll, learn more, or recommend someone for the program, they can visit the kiwanis.org/amplify website to learn more or to sign up. And that's our Kiwanis education for this evening. Back to you, President Zuri.
Thank you, Prospect Stephen.
President Zuri, if I may add to that, the program costs Kiwanians $50, but that same program on the outside costs about $600. Speaking about US dollars. And to congratulate the young presenter, I think he did well.
Thank you, PDT. So at this time, last week, we gave you the nomination report and the slate of candidates based on our bylaws. We're supposed to go through that nomination committee again this evening, and this time we will open the floor for nominations for the different offices. Again, I will deputize for the chairman of the nominating committee. The nominations committee meeting held at our board meeting on May 4th, 2026, the following members were nominated. President Arsenio Sawyers was the sole nominee. President-elect says Dr. Andrew Burton. The position is to be filled temporarily by DP Newton Ramdale in his absence while he's overseas for 1 year effective July 2026. Vice President DLG Desmond Batchelor. Secretary Treasurer DLG William Reeson. The returning directors, Director Andy Jean-Baptiste, DP Dalma James, DP Newton Ramdale. The retiring directors, DP Marcel Boyce, DP Richard Rees, DP Rupert Whitaker. 3 additional directors to be appointed from the following: Assistant Secretary Treasurer Christopher Anderson, Kiwanian Jervin Burton, PDT Ralston Nunez, and Chairman Ray J. Thompson. Please note that nominations from the floor may be made for any office this evening or at the annual general meeting, which is scheduled for next week, Tuesday. Right, so at this time, I'll open nominations, starting with the role of president. But before that, let me just check. Do we have a quorum? DLG Willie, can you confirm if we have a quorum?
You don't necessarily need a quorum this evening if anybody wants to exercise their right and nominate somebody. We currently have 15 members on.
All right. So we have 15 members on. You say we don't need a quorum. So opening nominations for the role of president. Any nominations? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Seeing that there are no nominations on the floor, the nominations are closed. And at this time, President-elect Arsenio Sawyers remained the sole nominee for the role of president. For the role of president-elect, open for, do I have any nominations? Going once? Going twice. Going 3 times. Gone. There be no nominations from the floor. DP Newton Ramdale remains the only candidate at this time for the role of President-elect. Vice President, nominations are now open. Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. There being no nominations. At this time, DLG Desmond Batchelor remains the only nominee for the role of Vice President. For the role of Secretary-Treasurer, nominations are now open. Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. There be no nominations from the floor. DLG William Reeson remains the only nominee for the role of Secretary-Treasurer at this time. Role of Director, nominations are now open. Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. Gone. There being no nomination from the floor, the following persons remain the only nominees for the position of director at this time: Assistant Secretary Treasurer Christopher Anderson, Kiwanian Jervin Burton, PDT Ralston Nunez, and Chairman Ray J. Thompson. All right, that is it for our nominations report. Just a reminder that our annual general meeting is next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. at the Secretariat, which is at 36.5 Barbican. We're at the National Chest Hospital. Please, members, we encourage you to be there and to be on time. I will now.
Mr. President, may I just for my information, I don't think it's in the bylaw, but for some of these positions that is being held by long-standing Kiwanians, is there a procedure to have an assistant to understudy those persons?
Well, there is no set procedure, so it would be up for us to determine how we will shape our succession planning, and if it is that we will have persons understudying. That is based on availability, but it's something that we definitely need to look into, especially considering what is happening with us in recent times. So that is something that we will have to discuss some more and identify persons to understudy.
Okay.
All right, thank you, PDT. All right, so now I will hand over to DP Stewart Spencer well, we don't usually do an introduction per se for our up close and personal, but just to lead us in this segment of this evening's meeting, as well as the discussion about IShowSpeed Plus for Jamaica. Well, we'll see. What are your thoughts? Over to you, DP Stewart.
Thank you, President Zuri. Okay. Fellow Kiwanians and guests, it's my pleasure this evening. As the President said, we don't usually introduce in a formal way, that is, the presenters for up close and personal, mainly because that is what they are going to do. They're going to tell us about themselves. So any attempt to do that would really be just a duplication. One thing I will tell you about him, though, because at our last games evening, he was present and he seems to like Scrabble, and I do. But so we were in the game together. I can tell you he didn't beat me, but I learned a few things from him. And I'm looking forward to the next time when we have our games evening, which will be the 5th Tuesday in June. So those of you who like to attend the games evening, you know from now, June has a 5th Tuesday. So Sean, welcome. Thank you for being willing to share. And we all look forward to what you're going to tell us. So it's over to you, Sean. I should let, at least I tell you, well, it was on the flyer, but his name is Sean Campbell. And he was among the last batch of members who were inducted. So he's brand new. Okay, Sean, over to you.
I was actually trying to show you my phone screen with the current Scrabble game I'm playing and winning, but the glare from the phone is not really showing up so well in the camera.
Would you like to be able to share your screen? Or will you be needing that?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Not at all. It's really just
Okay.
I guess, well, thanks for having me. Thanks for putting me in the hot seat, DP Stewart, but I'm more than happy to share with my fellow Kiwanians and guests. All right, so a little bit about me. Well, I'm 56 years. Well, I will be 56 this coming September. So, I currently am married, been married for a little bit over 11 years, and I think my wife is only here to make sure I get all my facts straight, right? To make a little bit over 11 years. And our youngest, the 6-year-old son, son, he's actually Sean Jr. They're both traveling now in the United States, and so I'm pretty much home alone. But I welcome this time to be busy because I have a lot on my plate. So I grew up in St. Catherine. Pretty much all my formative years were in St. Catherine. Born in Old Harbor, not in a hospital, on a street called North Street by a midwife. Went to Watts Academy, which is still around to this day. From there, I went on to Old Harbor Primary School, passed my common entrance. By that time, my family had moved to Garvermead. It's a small community in Portmore. So I followed my brother and my father's footsteps and opted to, my first choice was Kingston College. And at that time, I was a bright spark. Not so much now, but yeah, I was a bright spark. So I got my first choice and I started KC in 1981. Coincidentally, that was the same year that both KC and Calabar were suspended from boys champs. I think my first shock when going to KC, well, in the month, August, leading up to my first year at KC, the first shock I got was the fact that my mother brought me to choir to try out for the KC choir. Because I was one of the stars in my choir at Old Harbor Primary. At that time, I had no idea. I don't think my mom knew either that KC was probably the best boys choir in the Western Hemisphere. And I stood no chance of even cleaning anyone's shoes. So that was my first rejection. After starting first form, the spelling bee champion was in my class. So I was immediately brought down to earth when I started KC, the national spelling bee champ. The years at KC, actually, fourth form is when I was first introduced to Kiwanis. So even though I'm a new inductee here, I was also in Key Club in Kingston College, and that's where I was introduced to Kiwanis. Didn't go to any international conventions, but I remember we went to a convention in Montego Bay. I think it was 85, 86. And it was an experience. And one of the things that stood out with me was Kiwanian used to come to our school, our meetings once a month, and just sat with us, talked to us, motivated us, and be the mentor that we looked up to. I saw his picture on the wall at headquarters but I forgot his name. But yes, so that was my first introduction to Kiwanis in high school. From high school, I actually eventually went to the United States and I studied electronics engineering in Chicago, Illinois. And that's where I had my degree. And I was recruited by a company because I wanted to be really far from home. Home was in Chicago at that time. I wanted to be really far from home. So I took a job at a company called KLA, and that company was in San Jose, California. Some of you may know that area as Silicon Valley. So I lived there for and worked for a number of years, for 4 years, until I returned back to Chicago. Well, returned home by way of Chicago. And my first job back home in approximately 2001. I initially came for my sister's wedding, by the way, and I decided to stay. And my first job was assistant lecturer at the University of Technology in the School of Engineering. My stay there was somewhat short, my full-time stay, and I assisted them part-time. Well, I was there for 3 to 6 months, but I assisted them part-time for another year. Plus, I did part-time as well at the Maritime University, as it's called now, Carbon Maritime University. I did that too. Technical subjects. I'm pretty good with the technical subjects, digital electronics, circuit analysis, etc. Math. So I did some of that on while working for this company called, at the time, More Business Forums. Now, More Business Forums, I was again reintroduced to wines, and my boss at the time, I was hired as a technical coordinator at More Business Forums, and I was responsible for getting the company certified to ISO 9001 quality management standards. So I also have certifications in that as a lead auditor, quality management lead auditor. And but my boss at the time was a gentleman by the name of Owen Brodger. Now, I did not know, but eventually started discussing Kiwanis, and I said, well, I was, in Key Club, etc., etc. I said, and then he was like, why don't you come with me to a meeting? So at that time, I was reintroduced to Kiwanis again. Went to a few meetings, never got into it as much as I expected at the time because I eventually changed jobs and then I migrated to Curacao for a couple of years. So the new company I worked for was a company called Unicomer. They're the owners of Courts, Lucky Dollar, all those stores in Jamaica, as well as the company in Curacao called Omni, where they had recently acquired in 2016, and I was service manager. So, my background was always technical. So I was service manager at Unicomer from Jamaica to Curacao. And all the while doing that, my spare time was spent around cars. I was even an editor at a magazine called Jamaican Tuna Magazine. So I would follow up all the motorsport activities anywhere I could find them. We'd write about them, and we would, I eventually was even uh, a director in one of the local rally sport clubs in Jamaica. But when I migrated to Curacao, I kind of took myself away from motorsports. It was not much in Curacao, but some amount of activity. But the language and the fact that I was an expatriate and I didn't get too much into it. After a few years, I returned home for a better opportunity with another company here as service manager called Delta Supply. That didn't last long, as I wanted to get into entrepreneurship. And at that time, even though I was always around cars and motorsports ever since I was a teenager, it never dawned on me. And I chose a different path for entrepreneurship, and it failed miserably. Part of the reason was the fact that it was a social environment. It was a sports bar, and this was the year my son was born, and the following year was COVID. So sports bar, COVID did not work. And I decided to go job hunting again until I could get myself on my feet, pay the bills, etc. And I landed a job with this online company, e-commerce company, where in management, but it took a career change for me because I was in purchasing, I was planning, budget buying, and it was a technical company, so I did a lot of data science type of things with them. And I was with them, and then it was work from home. So I got comfortable. I got comfortable for about 5 years. And um, then the company folded. And I was out of a job again. So there was a gap before the company folded. A friend of mine approached me about auto detailing, and this is about 5 years ago. And it was supposed to be as an investor in his business. And I realized that, I started to like it. I started to do the work myself. I started to get involved and started to realize that he was not good at business. And I eventually branched off on my own. So I do that I would not even say spare time anymore. It's taking up a lot of my time right now. Even every little bit of ounce I have in time between my 9 to 5 and detailing, ceramic coating cars, um, interior cleaning, all of that I'm doing any chance I get. And I have customers calling me and scheduling and trying to get me to get it done. But my 9 to 5 right now is for a company called Romac Limited. They're actually a property management company. Been around for over 30 years, but I did not know about them before I was hired. And so they kind of flew under the radar because they work with a lot of large organizations, banks. Um, I am the integrated facilities manager for one of their clients, and the client is a Chinese company called Huawei up in Legany. So I'm the facility manager there currently, um, from the office, the grounds, maintenance, and their what they call their dorms. I'm also responsible for maintaining their dorms, and their staff is very needy. So we provide everything, just about everything. There's even a restaurant on campus at the office um, that serves breakfast, lunch, dinner. Um, what else? Went over just about everything. Yeah, so for recreation, as as you all know, I'm into cars. I actually invited a friend of mine. He's not here because he's so busy trying to plan his car show. His name is Nick Lou or Nicholas Lou, and he's planning this big car show in June that he actually recruited me to assist him with. And so that's what I do for fun and my extracurricular activities, anything that has to do with the automobile. Um, what drives me? What drives me is um, my family, my son, my wife. Um, I think we have the perfect one, perfect family, and they drive me. They drive me. They keep me going. Even at my age, having a 6-year-old, yeah, I tell myself I still have to be around to play basketball with him, to play football with him, and he keeps me going. He's very energetic, and the right spark as well. And so my family drives me. I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
Okay. Thank you, Sean.
Welcome.
Just a question. This is not on your presentation, but I don't know if you had your hands anywhere near the keyboard. Did you?
Somewhat, yes. The computer's in front of me.
Because there were some moments when it kind of speeded up and we couldn't hear you so clearly. And I know that happens when sometimes your hand goes on the keyboard. So just telling you that in case that was the problem. But we heard most of what you said, so that's okay. We heard most of what you said, and very interesting. We don't like to say go for questions so much because we don't want to grill you. You agreed to you agreed to present, and so our job is not really just to appreciate what you have shared. But we can still allow one or two, but the objective is not to grill you. So if anybody has any particular questions that they'd want to, one thing I must bet you didn't mention. Okay, so you didn't make it in the choir, and did you play any sport? I don't think I heard where you said you played any sport.
I could not. I thought I was good at football. My year started in KC, we had kids like Mauricio Ventura. Are you hearing me?
You kept going and coming, but you said you start again because in response to the question about sport.
Yeah, I was saying that I thought I was good at football, but in my year, you had kids like Mauricio Ventura, those kids that, we're talking about Manning Cup winning teams. So no, I was woefully inadequate to make the football team.
Okay.
But I loved football. I actually tried out for the basketball team in 4th form. Didn't make it either, but I played with the guys.
Okay, that's great. Anybody else has any little short questions you wanna ask Sean before we move on to the next segment?
Well, what I would say is that Sean has been very honest. He said he was a bright spark before KC, and also admitted to the fact that his wife drives him. But my question really is, what draws you at this time to Kiwanis? What do you think
Good question.
you can bring to the organization?
I find myself always assisting, always helping, and I wanted to get it more organized. Like, for example, most recently, I'm part of an organization that of gentlemen and ladies that I grew up with, called the Garvey Community. You know, it's filled with a lot of, you know, people in the diaspora, and we keep an annual event. And I was one of the main organizers. So I love to help. You know, I love to help, and I just wanted to channel that into something meaningful.
Okay, thank you. I think that is commendable. Sorry you went to Casey and not Calabar, but you're still
It's kind of interesting. My father went to KC first to fifth form and sixth form at Calabar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, you know, there are based on your skill sets and so on, there are a number of areas that I can imagine where you can certainly, you know, help in terms of the development of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston. And what I want to suggest to you is that don't just wait to be asked. If you have an idea and you want to see, you think it could be something that, you know, would fit in with our, you know what our goals are, or,
Right.
you know, please come forward, you know, come forward with it. Because sometimes people have ideas or things that they have been doing even before becoming a member, and they come into the club, but they don't necessarily initiate it. And we want, what we're saying to you is that we welcome persons who want to initiate new things. So don't feel,
Yes.
you know, don't feel any way that you can't do that. But I want to thank you very
Absolutely.
much. I want to thank you very much for your being, you know, willing to share with us tonight. And we're happy and we are the better for it. So thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, Kiwanians, but fellow Kiwanians and guests, the second part is that, you know, normally we usually have two persons doing this up close and personal, but this week we had one. So the idea of what we're gonna do in the next segment is really because we only had one person presenting tonight, and you know, it just so happens that last Friday was a bit of a new experience for a lot of Jamaicans, because I found on social media a lot of people were clearly didn't know who this guy was. And I'm obviously, you know who I'm talking about because it's on the flyer, IShowSpeed. I can just share that my first introduction to him was his recent visit a few months ago when he was touring Africa. Now, at that time, I hadn't heard about him before, but because I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, which is related to Africa, you know, then I saw some of his, you know, some of his tours in Ghana and some of the other countries that he attended, that he visited. I still didn't understand totally. Well, obviously the exposure is an obvious benefit, but I didn't quite, when he came to Jamaica and I saw what was happening, I understood it a lot more in terms of the purpose, because I heard people asking some really weird questions. For example, somebody saying, why would he do this and he's not being paid? And I said, that's a silly question. I said, I wasn't speaking to the person. I just said, because if you are a streamer and you have millions of viewers, your streams earn you money. So there's no need for somebody to pay you for streaming. I mean, pay you directly. Now, just a little background. The tour was, I understand, was sponsored by by Expedia. And it's very easy to understand why a company like Expedia would want to be associated with a product. And I'm calling him a product like this, because clearly that's a boost for B&Bs, and not only B&Bs, but hotels, because they handle the whole thing. You know, whether you want to book a car, Expedia handles the whole thing. So clearly they're in the travel market. And what he does has stimulated a lot of interest. I was reading but I don't, if some of you don't know anything about him, let me just give you a little background. he started streaming very early. And in fact, his mother kicked him out of the house because she didn't think this was something that was of any worth. His parents were divorced, so his father lived in another city. And when she kicked him out of the house, he went to live with his father. And then eventually he came back to living with his mother. But by the age of 16, just before he hit his 17th birthday, he was a millionaire. And he has, like, I've heard numbers like over 50 million subscribers to his channel. And even in Jamaica, the total number of views of his stream, I think, have been almost just under 3 million. And what is interesting is that is the market that he is really appealing to, because he obviously appeals to a younger market. Now, I get confused when we talk about Gen Z and Gen this and Gen that. I haven't really kept up, but I understand that this market is called Gen Z. But don't ask me exactly what are the ranges of ages. They have so many of them that I can't remember which one is which. But I understand that this particular market segment is the Gen Z. And what I find, what I really, I'm just gonna spend about another 2 minutes and so on. But I really want to see from our audience, who I'm really inviting to participate, what your, well, you may have had an initial impression, as well as you may have had a different impression at the end of the tour. But when I was looking at a list of some of the places that he visited, I found it very interesting, because you notice he didn't go on the North Coast. At least the stream didn't go on the North Coast. It didn't go to the traditional tourist areas. And I think, when I think of how it was planned, I think it was really artfully done, because Jamaica is known for some things, but to bring him to Kingston, which is more of the cultural center for the island, and to expose him to just the ordinary things that people do, because there are a lot of people who, when they come to Jamaica, they don't want to stay in the hotel. They want to get out on the street, mix with the people, and see what Jamaica is really like and what the people are really like. And what he did that is exactly the way the whole visit was set up. In fact, I didn't know this before, because some visits get highlighted more than others. Obviously, the scene with him at Emancipation Park, most of you might have seen clips of that. And the Giancano, I was happy to see Giancano. I haven't seen Giancano in years, and with the flute, and it was fun to see that, and I was part of his welcome. But one of the things that I saw, which I hadn't realized he had done, and I thought this was interesting, he went scuba diving in Port Royal. And that is a new thing for me. In other words, when I say that's new, you think of scuba diving among the hotel in the resorts and some of those areas. But to bring out the fact that you can do it in Kingston and at Port Royal, I thought that was interesting. So I think the way the whole visit was, and it was done over, it was basically one day, although he spent more than a day in Jamaica. But what I'm saying is that the way they planned it really covered a gamut of things, Bob Marley Center, the National Stadium. Apparently he likes to compete. So I don't know if that's where the speed part comes in. But in some of the African countries, he would race against people. So I guess, the whole idea of racing. But then when they did a relay in Jamaica, they didn't do any individual racing as far as I could see. But those were the things that struck me. And I think that in terms of, obviously this was planned in coordination with the tourist board. I'm going to make that assumption, because they certainly went out to touch on all these things. One of the things that has come up as a result of is because it was not just Jamaica, it was a Caribbean tour. So there's a lot of talk on social media about the different countries in the Caribbean and who is better than who, you know. And I remember when that story, but when in Jamaica we started to talk about, say, KFC, and we said that KFC is the best KFC in the world. We weren't really thinking about comparing it to the KFC in the other Caribbean countries, because most people in Jamaica really haven't necessarily been there. But all they know is, and I can testify to this, that it was better than what was in the US. I think there's general agreement on that. And I guess we thought that since it is better than what was in the US, then it's probably better than everywhere else. We just say it that way. But it wasn't really we weren't really competing with Trinidad or any of the other countries in that context. So some of the people in the other countries have taken offense to that and claiming that theirs is better. But that's just, the only thing I'd hope is that everybody just treat it lightly. It's just a fun thing. Nobody's trying to prove A or B. It's just a fun thing, and it shouldn't be taken personally. And no need for anybody to get upset about things, like that. But that was just one of the other things that have come about. I had never seen the Jamaican Spider-Man before. I didn't know that he existed. And I heard reference to Anansi, but I didn't see any clip with Anansi. I haven't seen it. Interestingly, when he met with Beenie Man, it's clear that he didn't know who Beenie Man was, or he didn't recognize Beenie Man from visually. He didn't recognize him, and link him to, some of the music that Beenie Man has done. But then that was overcome pretty easily. But rather than continuing this, I wanted to get a sense of whether some of you feel, oh, this was stupidness, or whether you think this was a plus, for Jamaica, and really what kind of benefit you think Jamaica might get out of this presence, because a lot of eyes were on Jamaica over this last weekend on Friday mainly. Anybody would like to jump in?
Before they jump in, I think you said you heard about Anansi, but you didn't say Anansi. That's because I don't think he's called Spider-Man. I think his name is Anansi Man. So the Jamaican Spider-Man is Anansi Man as opposed to Spider-Man.
Oh, so that's where the Anansi part comes in. He is the same character.
Yeah,
okay.
So he's Anansi Man.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get you. Thank you for that.
And the Speed ISS, he did go to the North Coast and it was streamed. He went to Mystic Mountain, he went to Blue Hole, and it was streamed as well.
Okay. Thanks for that as well. That I think that my personal view is, at least having seen him in other countries. Now, I want to point out something. It's not every country that he has been to that he has been welcomed with open arms. But the Black countries that he has been to generally have been quite receptive. I have heard of cases in Europe. I won't name the country because I'm not sure, but where his experiences were not necessarily great. And also in Northern Africa, I've heard some comments about countries in Northern Africa. When you say Northern Africa, I hope you know which are the countries in Northern Africa, where some of the reception was not as positive. But certainly in places like the West Africa and so on, he was really welcome. But as I said, that was the first time I was hearing about him on his recent African tour. So that I'll leave that with you for now. I think Devon House was also part of the tour. So a lot of spots in Jamaica, especially in the Kingston area, got highlighted. And it will be interesting to see what kind of, what kind of real response. Because certainly, obviously, the tourist board had to spend some money in organizing what was done. But as to whether, but I'm sure it doesn't compare in terms of eyeballs that they got and in relation to what they had to spend. I'm pretty sure You know, this was much more value for money. And it would be interesting to see whether the younger generation, you know, the Gen Z generation, will take up the offer. Because even before he came to Jamaica, if you just, you know, rummage through social media, you will see where there's a lot of interest in the country. And, you know, and this is something that one time will tell just how effective it was in boosting our tourism products. Anybody has anything they want to contribute?
DP Stewart, it seems maybe most of our people don't know who he is or followed. So we could I guess you could probably do a closing word and we move to thank you.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing I was gonna throw in was his experience at Tasty, you know, which was kind of interesting in terms of and it's interesting that the party that has gone the party that has gone from Jamaica to the US market is not Tasty but juicy beef. But now those who are over there eating juicy beef, if they didn't know before, they now know that Tasty is one of the bigger patty producers in Jamaica. So they got some exposure there. And I also like the little exposure to Rasta. So so the cultural part went right through. I think Yendi, in terms of her introduction at the Emancipation Park, I think that also went pretty well. And you know, so that's as much as I really want to add right now. But last thing I'd mention, last thing. Well, on a store, a vendor gave him a supplement, right? And he took it. He was appreciative of it, and he drank it. And because, you know, supplement comes up in a lot of our music, and it's kind of one of those little in drinks that people use as a mixer and also drinking it straight. But what I noted was that Seprod, who distributes it, did respond after they saw the excitement that little scene created, and has handed him a gift. They gave him 52 cases of supplement, I guess, for the year, one for each week of the year, as well as a gift basket and a cell phone. So a simple act of kindness. I'm sure the guy wasn't expecting to be rewarded in the way he has been. You know, here comes up the separate group and has bestowed on him what I just mentioned, which was, I think, a nice little touch. So that's about where I would end it for now. So those are my impressions. I overall think it was overall a plus, but we'll see in later months or a year or so just how it has affected or impacted our tourism product. So back to you, President. I didn't designate anybody to do a thank you, so I didn't bother to plan that part of it.
All right. Thank you, DP Stewart. I'm sure Kiwani and Sean Campbell knows that he is appreciated and that we thank him for his presentation this evening and for sharing himself with us. So we have gotten the opportunity to know him a little better and we are grateful for that. Our Sergeant at Arms is still currently in Canada enjoying himself. So until his return, as a blanket fine of $200 to all Kiwanians. So all members of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston, blanket fine of $200. Dear G. Willie, over to you for notices and announcements and interclubbing opportunities.
Thank you, President. All right, first one, let me just remind our members, especially of the third quarter DCM. This is going to be held on Saturday, June the 6th at the Kuna Mutual Building, Tamariska Road, and that starts at 9 a.m. with registration. And more importantly, fellow Kiwanis and guests, all roads lead to our annual Barbie Fry at 11 Fairway Avenue, Kingston 6, and is located just behind the AC Hotel. It's at the corner of Fairway Avenue and Windsor Avenue. Starts at 10 a.m. and we go through to 4 p.m. And we all are cordially invited. Those members who still have not yet received tickets, please make contact with myself and I can advise you who to go to get tickets. We want this to be a resounding success, so we need all hands on this. Everybody, we're asking all members to take literally, even 4 tickets for themselves. And then, following that, on July the 18th at 8 p.m., we have National Dance Theatre Company benefit performance. Opening night is on Friday, July the 17th, and they've given us the second night, which is Saturday, July the 18th. More details will come out later on. But for the time being, remember now, Barbie Fry, we expect everybody to be present. If not present, at least come pick up your meal and take it home with you or back to work. So for now, those are the announcements. Interclubbing opportunities, I will advise members during the week of the interclubbing opportunities so we can. I know there's one that we are especially invited to, that is the anniversary meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Stony Hill, and that is next week, Monday at 7 p.m. But President Zuri, you may want to invite other members who are visiting the club. If they have an announcement, they do so now. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, dear G. Willie. Is there any person on the call who would like to share an upcoming event or something that they would like us to be aware of? Now is the opportunity to do so. Going once, going twice, going 3 times, opportunity gone until next week.
Oh, sorry, President, I should have reminded members that this Saturday is our third Saturday is our breakfast feeding at the Marie Atkins shelter. This Saturday, 9 a.m.
All right, so Saturday, 9 a.m., we go to Mary Atkins Shelter on Hanover Street for our breakfast feeding program. And we ask that you clear your morning as well, because we might be visiting some of our members on Saturday as well. DLG Desmond is working out the details for that, so we will let you know more about that further. So we ask that you come for 9 and just clear some of your morning so that we can also incorporate visits to some of our members. The thought for the week: someday is not good enough. Today is the day that matters. The only day when you can do what you must do. Again, someday is not good enough. Today is the day that matters. The only day when you can do what you must do. It was indeed a pleasure for us to have you at our meeting this evening. I am again opening invitation to the members of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston to join me on Thursday at Lanneman's Prep in the morning for their Boys day, we go in and share with them. I now invite you all to raise your glasses with me, whether imaginary, figurative, literal. Raise your glasses with me in a toast to Kiwanis International and to Jamaica, land we love. This meeting of the Kiwanis Club of Kingston is now terminated at 8:23 p.m. Thank you all for joining us and continue to enjoy your evening. For those of us who will be journeying home, have a safe journey home. And for those of you who are already home, wish you all the very